I'm going to show you how to improve your product manager resume by walking you through a one-on-one session that we just did in a resume workshop. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another video. My name is Alex. Today we're going to be talking about how to improve your product manager resume. If you're new to this channel and you want to learn about business and product management, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything. Make sure to smash the like button and share it with your friends who may be interested in building business or product management. Today I'm going to share a video from our product manager resume workshop that we did a few days ago, and we're going to have more videos on this in the coming days. If you enjoyed this type of content, make sure to let me know down in the comments. And by the way, there's tips here for everybody, not just product manager, but this candidate today has a lot of experience in product management and in technology in general, so we'll review that today, but we'll touch upon important keys for anyone interested in product management, even with no experience. There's going to be important highlights in here. I've also got a separate video talking about how to make a product manager resume, and in the description you can find a full playlist talking about how to improve your resume as a product manager.
All right, so let's begin. This is how I like to do these type of resume reviews. Obviously, we're going to go a little bit faster than I would usually go, but my approach is generally I try to look at these resumes the same exact way that I would look at them if I were actually reviewing your candidacy for product manager. And that means that I am, surprise number one, not reading a lot of these. I am scanning through them. First thing, when I see an introductory piece here, you see you've got an introductory piece here. Now, ordinarily, if I was reading a document, I would have already consumed it. But when I read resumes, my mind goes into this weird place where I just stop. I stop intaking information and I only go based on tags and like things that catch my eye. So we're gonna scroll through this as I would if I was reviewing it. And if I was reviewing it, I would skip through this and notice the 20-year history. Let's keep going. Here I see founder. I like that. I see some metrics, which I generally like. I don't know if the metrics are meaningful yet. So again, we're going to do this like 30-second run through, and then we're going to get a little more analytical to it. But I think it'll be beneficial for the folks in the room to kind of understand like the framework of the interviewer. Continuing on here, I see that essentially this is June 2020. So basically it's just something they've just started. So I will obviously discount it and I keep going. I see a couple other things. I like to see consultant. I like to see founder. Of course, this is all going to be very specific because depending on the role that I'm considering for, there's certain expectations that I might have. There's some things that you might need to do, and I'll be looking for those pieces in particular. But for now, I'm just going to assume that it's sort of the generalist approach. I see another founder piece, which is good. We want to see that. Founder, co-founder, any kind of organizer, builder, anything like that. And then here we have some technical product manager experience, and let's get into some of these bullets. So that's where I'm going to put my attention as the hiring manager or the reviewer. Right? So I skip kind of through all this. I get a little bit of tidbits of it kind of informs what I'm going to continue to read. By the way, actually, before we get into it, how many pages is this one? Is it actually 4 pages?
It's 4 pages. It's pretty long, yeah.
Anyway, defend your position on having a 4-page resume in 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Well, I think all the different skills I have in the tech industry have contributed to my ability as a product manager, bringing together the business, the design, and the technology skills all together.
Okay, awesome. All right. So my general thought on this is shorter is always, always, always better. However, usually like the rule of thumb is for 10 years experience, no more than 1 page. As you go beyond that, I think it's acceptable to go to expand it. However, 4 pages, you're basically asking for more attention than any other candidate. Almost like out of 100 candidates that I'll look at, your resume is going to be demanding more attention. So what that means is either you're going to always kind of go direct, you're going to have a referral or some sort of like someone that has actually recommended you, or a recruiter at guaranteed recruiter review or something like that. And you're confident that all those 4 pages are going to be reviewed, or we're leaving something on the table. Mm-hmm. So I would posit to you that shorter is better, and we should try to see if we could cut it down as much as possible. I would definitely aim for 2 pages. Okay. If we can realistically not fit all the things that you want to say and tell the story that you want to say in 1 page. So, because for the majority of folks here, and by the way, we're going to try to get a different types of resumes here with different backgrounds, experience levels, so the different folks can kind of get a chance to see what else is out there. My recommendation for almost everybody is going to be shorter is better. For folks that have less than 10 years, you should definitely have 1 page resume. And for folks that have beyond, it's going to be sort of an A/B testing kind of situation. You might want to field test it. you have a 1-page version, you have a 2-page version. I would recommend not going beyond 2 pages.
Okay.
So let's get into some of these. Actually, before we get into the bullet points, because I already see some numbers and some metrics, which is always great. That's kind of what I want to see. Before we get into that, what are you looking for? Is there a particular area that you want to work on, like consumer, hardware, software? Have you thought about this stuff? What's the target?
I have put some thought into it. I have a long background in consulting for small business owners outside of working in the tech industry. I run my own digital agency and still do so for the past 20 years. So I really love working with small business owners and founders and startups, and working in the Google kind of small business area would be great. And that would be a fantastic area for me to work in. But I have a very strong technical background. So I've written my own content management system many years ago, being a release engineer, so very deeply embedded in the engineering side. So
technical aspects.
Sorry?
Technical aspects.
Yeah, very, very strong technically. And I started in the tech industry in like mid-90s. So there's kind of two areas, I guess, in the small business startup founder type of area where I would do really well, but also in kind of enterprise and deeply embedded in technical teams would be great too.
What I took away from that is that you've obviously worked in a variety of roles, and in general, you are more technically oriented. So you'd like to work on a more technically complex project or field, and that makes sense. So just to thinking about what type of roles you might be applying for, it gives me a better idea of how to review it. High level, the stuff that could be useful for everybody. We talked about brevity. And the next thing I want to talk about is these bullet points. Ideally, we want to get them to be one line if possible. If you want to go for a mix, I would say if you have, let's say, 5 bullet points, 3 of them should be 1 line and maybe 2 of them can be 2 lines. Think of your resume as, and this is maybe less for you and more for the folks that are a little bit less experienced, your resume as this also product of itself. And the goal of the resume is not to get you the job. It's just to get you a callback so you can get in the interview. So you've got to make it actually consumable. You've got to make it so that people can actually read your resume and read it in as frictionless of a way as possible. So you're not necessarily going for depth of content as you are for ease of use, accessibility, and building a story, a compelling narrative of why someone will want to bring you out for an interview. So make sure you're clear about your goals when your resume, not to get the job, just to get the interview. Let's just take a look at these a little bit more in depth now. So if I were to scan it, I would scan and I would see keywords like agile, collaborated, and money, anything with a dollar sign, anything with a percent sign that I'm going to try to latch onto and see if I can add meaning to that in my own head as I'm building the story. But going a little bit more clearly and in more detail, when you think about, I think this is a great example, collaborated daily with an agile team to provide clear direction on backlogs, user stories, acceptance criteria, feature delivery. So on the face of it, you did that and I do that, and it seems compelling, but actually it doesn't really tell me any specifics about what's the impact that you had. So product manager is mostly evaluated on the impact that they had, like what were they actually able to deliver. And here, the fact that you did all that doesn't actually mean that you were able to deliver anything meaningful or move anything forward. And so when we're crafting these resumes, we've always got to be careful that we are asking ourselves the question, like, why? Mm-hmm. What does this mean? And go a little bit deeper. Yeah. So it's great that you collaborated, but to what end? So for instance, does this mean that you collaborate with an agile engineering team? Does this mean that you're able to get the velocity up, so you're able to release faster or maybe less bugs? Or maybe you were able to work on the stuff that mattered, but how do we know that the stuff that mattered? What's the actual impact? Were you able to reduce the backlog meaningfully? And like the stuff when you maybe you surface the most important user stories, but again, how do I know they're most important user stories? What is it about that feature delivery that was different and better because of your involvement? Or what is the technical aspect here? These are just like some things to think about, but what we want to see here is we want to capture the essence of what you're trying to say, which is that you did all this. There was agile, there was collaboration with engineering. You had to analyze user stories, backlogs, so try to figure out a way where you can keep that in there, but also tell the story of what that drove. Does that make sense?
Yep. It's very generic, that bullet point. You're very
but the reason I honed in on it is because I'm sure I'm going to see it everywhere. Like all the and I see it all the time, and like especially if you're trying to cut down, and you're trying to cut down size, you're going to have to figure out a way to make meaning out of this stuff. By the way, I know some of the folks that are in college or earlier on in their career, they actually have trouble maybe making a long resume because they don't have enough content to put there. So it's kind of the reverse of that problem, but you'd still might end up with a filler kind of point like this.
Yeah.
So take away the actual substance of it.
So as someone, sorry to interrupt you, as someone looking at resumes, so when you look at a bullet point like this, it's already assumption that, okay, that's what he's doing as a product manager. So there's no need to mention it. So just mention kind of the key ones that you talked about, those metric movers.
That's right. Or if you want to get across a key point here, like the fact that you work with engineering or that you manage backlogs or something like that, focus on that and then what the impact is of that. Like try to aim for every bullet having some sort of impact to it. That's going to be a recurring theme today. And pretty much every time we do these office hours workshops, I'm always going to just talk about, hey, make it short, make it impactful, and you're good to go in general. Absolute numbers and percentages are always good to see because that's the actual impact. That's the change. That's what you're able to deliver. Now, it is a little bit confusing as to how. So what exactly happened here? So you might want to try to get, again, more concise about that. Save the company $120,000 also could be meaningful or could be not meaningful, depending on the absolute values of what the company's revenue or costs are. So anytime we drop absolute numbers, if they're really big, like if they're big by any number, like any reference point, then I think that's good. In general, you want to present them in some sort of context so that the reviewer can, okay, was this meaningful or was it a drop in the bucket?
Okay.
Now, that's just something to keep in mind. And then the other piece is you don't need to tell us the entire backstory of the project details. Just tell us the meaningful piece of it. What are the savings originated from, and how did you help deliver? Here we've got hiring. So what that tells me is you can pick teams, you can lead teams. Figure out a way to identify that point. Because discovered and subsequently coordinate is probably not the best way of saying that, right? Like, did you lead the hiring efforts or did you collaborate? Did you assist with the hiring efforts? Did you actually make the hiring decision? And then did you manage those folks? If you didn't, then I understand you want to get them creative writing there. That's fine. But if you did, definitely go out and say it because that's powerful. Right here, mentoring, this is strong, right? As a PM, we always going to be working with a lot of different folks. So mentorship is very important. Again, shorter. Try to basically every 2 line, you try to get into 1 line. Important relationships were only important to me insofar as they lead to results. So it's great that you work with senior leadership, stakeholders, the C-suite. Awesome. That's great. You got exposure to them. But what would be even better is if you were able to use these relationships or cultivate these relationships for some sort of purpose for the product or the company or the users.
It's back to what you said before, specific and measurable stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, that stuff's always going to come into play. Okay, so that's a good chunk of experience there. I think this is good. This is great. You want to mention this because you're a founder here and you're working with small business owners and entrepreneurs. I think that's great because that's what we want in product managers in general. If you can be more specific, would be great as well. How did you help them build their business models? Business owners they're forming their business, or are you taking their business to the next level? And if so, again, what was the impact of that? 1 line for something like this is totally, by the way, acceptable because you're just saying, you know what, hey, I have this business. By the way, I started a business. I did this and I worked with other entrepreneurs. I think that's powerful as well. As a general rule, as you get further into your chronological, obviously reverse chronological order experience, you should have less and less. So your most recent positions should have more bullets and your older positions have less bullets in general. I feel like you largely follow this rule, which I think is good for everyone to keep in mind.
I did this version of my resume. I saw somebody that had 5, 4, 3, and then 2, 2, 2, 2 in terms of the number of bullets. So
yeah, I think I did actually the same for myself. Okay, so we're going to skip through this in the interest of time for now, but I think you get the idea. Education, let's try to find a way to also cut that down and get to the meat of it. I think you've got some definitely good education that you can highlight. Highlights in general, I think these work if you have more than 10 years experience and you want to do it, but I would encourage you to find a way to actually put them in the bullet points. If you can get these highlights right in the bullet points, because if I've read the bullet points, I'm probably not going to get to this 3rd page. And here is where you might have very interesting stuff, right? Autodidact is great. That's a lot of PMs are very probably in a similar area. eager for knowledge, intellectually curious, you got to find a way to, first of all, tie that to impact, and second of all, put it in the bullet points. This is awesome. I don't want you to right away take your 4 pages and remove all of it, but I would encourage you to do this A/B testing approach. Have a 1-pager and a 2-pager. Try to get as concise as possible. Mayur, thank you very much. So guys, feel free to check out Mayur's work. And thank you very much for joining.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash the like button as always, and let me know down in the comments what type of resumes and candidates you'd like us to review next. As always, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything, and share this video with your friends if they're interested in improving their resume, especially if it's in product management. Finally, make sure to subscribe to my newsletter, link in the description below, so that you can know when the next events are coming up. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.